everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Tax Tips channel. My name is Cherry Chen, a chartered professional accountant located in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. My mission is to become the Google map for hardworking Canadians seeking financial freedom. And we're very fortunate today because we have one of my best clients here, Ken Bekendam from LegalSecondSuites.com, and he is here to share about his story and his business, how he's helping homeowners to create value and by creating more housing unit within the same building. But before I get started, if you find this video useful or if you like our channel, make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button below. Now with that, let's get started. Hey Ken, how's it going?
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me and bringing me out to you guys have a beautiful office here, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's nice seeing you. It's nice seeing everyone, and we did this jumping jack to start off our interview, which is awesome. Tell us a little bit about your 75 Hard Challenge.
Yeah, so back in mid-August, I was at an investor retreat. And we had some motivational speakers who came there and spoke to the group of investors. And one of the speakers was talking about the 75 Hard Challenge that he completed and how he was able to dramatically transform his investing career and really be able to scale up his portfolio. And so I looked at that as a good motivation for me to start, implementing those types of changes in my daily life.
Okay, before we go further, how it impacts you, can you at least share with us what 75 Hard is?
Okay, so 75 Hard is a 75-day challenge where you have to do 5 things every day. And so these 5 things are, you have to do 2 workouts a day, 2 45-minute workouts a day, one of which has to be outside. You have to read 10 pages of a self-development book. You have to drink 1 gallon of water. You have to be on some form of a diet. It could be any diet, whatever you choose. It just has to be a diet, and you have to stick with it. And you have to take a picture, a profile, or like a picture of yourself every day, so that you can track your progress. You have to do it every day, 75 days, and you cannot, if you miss one of those items, you have to start all over again at day 1.
And there's 1 gallon of water too, right?
Yeah, I didn't, it's not here right now. It should be with me.
But I gave you the tiny little bottle. It helps. That is challenging. That's why it's called 75 Hard.
It's a mental toughness challenge. Because it's not always convenient, and some days are easier to do the challenges than other days. Like some days when you have a lot of commitments, it's hard to kind of get both of those workouts in. But that's part of the challenge. It's a mental toughness challenge. It's a commitment, and if you can commit to this stuff, when other things in life come to you that may be challenging or hard, you're much better equipped to kind of overcome those challenges. You're committing to yourself to do these things, right? And obviously especially with the workouts and the diet, there's obviously physical side effects that happen because of it. So yeah, I'm starting to feel myself,
bulking up?
Tighten up a little bit. I'm only on I think I'm on day 29. So I still have quite a few days to go. But
No, that's amazing. And you mentioned earlier that there were 80 people that started off together on this journey with you, and now you're down to like maybe 5 people already?
Yeah, so we had about 80 people in our WhatsApp accountability group, and it's I think we're down to less than 10 for sure that are actively doing it. So it goes to show you that people can be quick to sign up for something, but it is a commitment to actually do it.
For sure. That is exactly how I see you. You're very different from the rest of the group, and that's actually the first impression that I got from when I first met you. And I still remember it was so many years ago, and it was in one of the real estate events, and we talked about student rental. And at the time, you already got a few student rentals in the Hamilton market. And you were sharing with us how you were always able to charge above market rent. And you kind of just walk out confidently and say, hey, I charge like $650 per room, or maybe $700 per room. And at the time, the market, it could be $500 per room. So, and then through that experience, I also, you also bought the property that was presented. And it was a very it's a very eye-opening experience at the time. Like, how do you become so confident about charging and asking for that amount of rent? And what makes your property different than the rest of the student rental properties?
Yeah, so like I look at the rental business, being a landlord and providing housing, you're in a customer service business. It's a business. Tenants are your customers. Students are your customer, right? And so, and I take a lot of pride in my houses, in my buildings, and because I come from a architectural design and construction background, I can't live with, a property that's run down. I have to, I want to go in, I want to fix it up, I want to make it nice, I want to make it legal, I want to convert, the two separate apartments. And so by being able to provide a good quality product to the market, people are willing to pay for it, right? And especially in the student market, parents, more so than the student themselves, want their kids to live in a good place while they're in university. And so it doesn't take much when you have a nicely renovated unit for it to really stand out amongst all of the other offerings that are out there, right? And so I was always being given compliments about the units from the students coming, doing the viewings, like, oh my gosh, this is the nicest unit we've seen all day. And they've been out touring lots of different units to try and sign up, a bedroom for the upcoming school year. So I was able to kind of, always charge a little bit of a higher price per room because I know that I was bringing something of quality to the market, and that people were willing to pay for it. And it's still happening today. I'm still, even now I'm getting $850 a room for my student. That's all inclusive, right? And students like all inclusive. They want nice, easy living. But so I'm still able to get those high rents, and it's not just the quality of the unit. It's also the serviceability of me, the landlord, or my company, servicing the tenants and their needs, and just being responsive. You know? So it's a customer service business. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. It's very interesting conversation that we're having, because not too long ago I had James Maggs on talking about student rental as well. And a lot of feedback on the student rental post is that, well, you need to do a lot of work to maintain student rentals. I know you have student rentals and you also have duplexes, and you're now on to many different bigger projects. How do you find student rental compared to other types of rentals?
I'm still a big fan of student rentals. That's kind of how I started. A good chunk of my portfolio is still student rentals. And again, the amount of management that's involved in managing a rental unit is directly tied to the quality of the rental unit. And the quality of your tenant is also directly tied to the quality of your unit, right? So if you can provide a good, legal, beautiful unit, you're going to attract a good quality person, which is going to dramatically reduce the amount of management that's involved, right? And so on my student rentals, yes, there's because oftentimes you're dealing with individual students that, yes, they're a part of a group of students, but they're still acting as individuals. There are more emails that come in, but at the end of the day, it's all routine types of, requests, right?
I lost my key. Can you come open my door?
Yeah,
and all these questions. They're silly, but to be honest, to be fair, we get those questions from regular straight family rental anyway, right? And
what I like about the student rentals is that, those groups of students, they're there for, it could be 8 months, could be 12 months, maybe it's 2 years, but they're not really staying much longer than that. And so it's nice is that I can get a frequent turnover on those units. And that's also why I'm able to keep my rents higher on those student rentals, because I'm taking advantage of the turnover.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So other types of projects that myself and my partners, my JV partners, and our company that we're getting involved in it's all about increasing density, right? Finding the biggest building that you can get your hands on, and seeing how many units you can fit into that building. So right now we've got some old kind of vacant rundown commercial medical building that we're converting to 22 apartment units downtown in Hamilton. What's nice about that building is that it's vacant. There's no pre-existing tenants, right? There's no walls even, like it's just completely vacant and gutted building. It's a cinder block building. And it's nice, so we don't have to, worry about, working with existing tenants or having to worry about rent evictions and all that goes along with that. We can kind of start with a clean canvas. And so it's a much simpler conversion process. It's simple in the fact that it's a vacant building. There's other complicating factors, right? When you're working with larger buildings,
yes.
The building codes can be different, the fire codes can be different. You're dealing with a much bigger building, so obviously costs of construction and budgets are bigger. But what's nice about these, I call them like these medium-sized buildings. So they're not your fourplex or your sixplex. It's like these 8 to kind of 20 unit buildings, these medium-sized buildings. It's a bit of a different market of investors that also, work in that sphere, right? Because these types of projects, they're too big for a mom and pop investor who's just starting out to kind of jump into, but they're too small for the big institutional investors to get into or the big developers to get into.
Yep.
So it's a good space for us to operate in where we have some experience, we have the capabilities, but we're still, a small player in the market, right? We're still in the grand scheme of things, we're still a small investor, right? So it's a good way of kind of getting into larger projects. And for myself, it's a return on time. Because you can spend the same amount of time and energy, working through the permit drawings and getting the approvals and working through the construction and managing all the trades. You can spend the same amount of energy and time on that project, but you're getting 20 units out of it on the back end.
I would argue and challenge you that you spend more time on that project than converting a single family home to a duplex. You have to, there's a lot more, but you hire more professional though.
Yes, there's more people involved, right? But so to do that medical building conversion project, so we're looking about an 18-month timeline on it. I know lots of people who
18 months is short. You're adding a lot of toilet and kitchens.
When you have a team,
yes,
you can execute quicker. But I know a lot of people who are doing a bungalow conversion, which is only getting 2 units, and they're taking 12 months, if not longer, to execute, right? And so, it does go back to the strength of your power team as well. But there is a return on time factor when you can focus on kind of one project. Because you can have one meeting with the plumber, but he's going to be plumbing 20 units, right? You can have one meeting with the electrician.
Yes,
you can be wiring up 20 units, right?
Agree.
Rather than doing 20 different houses.
Agree.
You know what I mean? That's a lot of extra meetings and approvals and that go along with that. So there is a return on time when you're scaling up and focusing on more units, under one roof.
That's very interesting. So tell us a little bit about what you do, the boring stuff that you do.
The boring stuff that I do.
It's not the boring, your specialty that you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, so the work that I do on a day-to-day basis is I'm really just consulting and advising, helping lots and lots of investors and homeowners on basically looking at their existing portfolios, or looking at properties that they're looking at buying and seeing where we can add density. Basically trying to add, again, as many units as we potentially can into what they have, right? And so it's a lot of, looking at zoning bylaws and permitted uses, looking at the size of the building or the house, seeing what we can fit in from a building code perspective as well. Can we meet these minimum height requirements or natural lighting requirements, so on and so forth. And then with our design team, we're doing a lot of the architectural drawings and obviously the permit approvals. And then, some clients, they have their own trades, or they're self-managing their construction projects. Other clients, they need help with that. So this is where we pull in our construction company and we'll also help execute on the construction.
Yes,
cool. But yeah, it's really on the day-to-day company side stuff. We're doing a lot of basement apartments, duplexes, triplexes, the garden suites, and the laneway houses. That's kind of like the day-to-day bread and butter in the company, you know. And then on the personal side, we're getting into like the slightly larger buildings just so that we can get a better return on our time.
Okay, so in this like legal conversion, legal duplex conversion and triplex build, or even coaching house, coach house, or garden suite, in this particular market, what have you seen in the last little while? Like I know it's kind of new. This garden suite idea is kind of new in the market. So have you guys done a lot of these lately?
Well, so a lot of the municipal zoning bylaws have really only been out for just over a year now that have permitted these units, right? So it was just really this construction season that we've started to see some actually getting built. And I'm sure, you know, you guys have seen also on your social channels or Facebook or Instagram, you know, starting to see people posting pictures of their garden suites going in. It's just this year that we really started seeing that. So with our company, like we've designed out a whole bunch. We've actually completed 2 garage conversions in existing garages.
External separate building garage, detached garage.
Yeah. So we've done we've converted 2 existing garages into secondary units. Our company, we haven't done one from the ground up yet, like a completely new structure in the backyard. We have about 3 or 4 that are almost getting approved by the city. But given the time of year that we're in, those will probably be starting in the springtime as far as the construction.
So like, sorry to interrupt. So what are the timeline? Like, let's say I buy a lot, like not a lot. Let's say I buy an older house that it has a lot that's big enough for me to put in a detached coach house on the side. And I also want to convert that to duplex on the main house and then build this on the side. Like, what are you seeing in the marketplace and how long does it take to get the permit going?
Yeah, so depending on, so the first step in any project is, you know, you have to do your zoning check. You have to work with your BCIN designer and to get those drawings going, right? The sooner you can get in and get started on the drawings, you know, the faster you can implement, obviously, on the back end. So depending on your design company's, you know, availability and timelines, you know, it could be 2 weeks, could be 4 weeks, could be 6 weeks, to kind of get your drawings in place, you know, ready to submit to the city. Depending on the municipality that you're in, some municipalities are much easier to work with. They have very simple processes. Other municipalities have a very convoluted process that just drives, you know, delays through the project. So, you know, Hamilton is a good city. They got really good common sense bylaws. Brantford is really simple to work with. Burlington, on the other hand, very difficult to work with. A very convoluted process. No, I like to say, no, not common sense bylaws, which just lead to delays, right? So on the permitting side, there is, you know, some variability depending on where you're working, right? But let's say typically you're you know, 4 to 6 weeks for your drawings, and then maybe could be upwards of 8 weeks on the permitting side. Again, depending on the municipality and the complexity of your application. But so that's, you know, that's 2 to 3 months, you know, to kind of maybe even upwards of 4 months to get your approvals in place, okay? And then construction can begin once you have your permit issued, right? So depending on how you're going about building your garden suite, what we're seeing out there right now in the marketplace is really, there's 3 primary ways of doing it. The first one is your traditional stick frame built structure, okay, just like you would build a garage or a shed or something, just from scratch, okay, with 2x4s or 2x6s. The other option is a modular unit, where we're seeing modular units coming in, they're being craned in or shipped in and being placed on piers or onto a foundation. And then the other way of doing it is with container homes. And seeing modified shipping containers being used for these units. And we're seeing a lot of new players coming into the market now, especially on the modular side and the container home side. We're seeing a lot more companies coming into the market, bringing these products forward to make our jobs easier.
That's awesome.
Because you're dealing with a little garden suite or coach house, it's a smaller unit in the backyard. they can more easily be made off-site, right? And when you're building stuff off-site, in a controlled environment, you can get your cost of construction down. You can get a much better quality built structure as well. And so we're seeing that, more often than not being kind of the go-to versus a stick frame built structure. Just because of these new players that are coming into the market, bringing these like relatively inexpensive modular units. Which is great, right? Stick frame construction can be more costly just because you're dealing with all independent trades.
Yep.
Typically it's a bit more customized.
Yes.
And whenever you're doing anything remotely custom, there's always going to be increased costs with it. And it can take longer to build because you have just natural delays between trades and contractors and whatnot. So.
Yeah, so like from what I'm hearing, like first of all, it just goes back to reminded me of the book, The Price of Tomorrow. I don't know if you've ever heard of that book. Essentially, tomorrow's price is going to be cheaper and cheaper. It's just kind of like TV. Remember years and years ago, our TV are $10,000 or $7,000 or $8,000, and nowadays it's $1,000 or even cheaper, and it's way better quality. And then before, it just kind of remind me of how like these homes could be built these days.
Like, don't get me wrong, like we still have supply chain issues. We still have, construction material that, keeps inflating and whatnot. But we're seeing innovation happening within this industry, which will help drive down the overall cost.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
who knows?
right?
Yes.
Hopefully technology will help, especially with these smaller modular types of units.
For sure. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. For anyone who wants to find out more about what Ken can do, and if you want Ken to help you, how can they find you?
Yeah, you can feel free to reach out to me at legalsecondsuites.com. I'm the only Ken Bekendam on planet Earth. You can Google my name and you will find me instantly. You can reach me on Facebook, on Instagram. It's just all Ken Bekendam. But definitely check out the website, legalsecondsuites.com.
Yes, thank you so much. If you like this video, make sure that you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, see you.